Eh.
Howdy hoo! Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Influencers Connection Corner. Happy Saturday! Yay! Oh my gosh.
Saturday. Oh, wait.
We had to get it worked up, girl. We had to get it worked up. It's such a phenomenal seller day. I love it. Guys, let us know where you're pulling up from. And I just love giving shout outs to different folks, especially just the significance of this program today, the topic that we're talking about. I feel like it is now more than ever that we need to be talking about just being different. What does it mean being different, right? Sia, you're not different. You're not different at all.
Okay, I know you're trying to be nice and sarcasm. Let me tell you, sometimes people don't catch sarcasm, young lady. Everyone, she's being sarcastic. Just saying. Just saying.
Sia is definitely unconventional in her way, I should say, and but it keeps life very interesting because I honestly think the world wasn't built for us differently.
Yeah. I think that's a misnomer. I think the world is different and the variety is what makes it awesome. So if you consider yourself normal, I think maybe you're the outlier.
Ooh, but okay, but that doesn't mean that we don't belong, right? That means
No,
that
everyone.
there's just right, everyone belongs. It's just finding that niche. I honestly find that true innovation, progress and change really happens in those pockets of different different thoughts. And but we need to stop forcing people to fit those molds that we're so, templatey. Come on, think, reshape, rebuild, fit molds to fit people, not the other way around. What do you think?
I think create the mold, buck the mold, recreate the mold. I think here's the thing. I think what's interesting about this conversation that we're going to have is the fact that I think the acknowledgement that, we truly are unique. The human brain, to me, is one of the most fascinating organs out there. Outside of skin. I'm still trying to figure out the skin, but the brain, though, oh my gosh, the complexity, the ability for us to calculate what we can calculate in an instant, to feel emotion, to feel anything, to process data, perceive that data, not just perceive the data as binary zeros and ones, but also to actually extrapolate wisdom and add that to it. So there's just so much going on with our brains. And so I don't think we should be shocked that there is neurodiverse brains, how we calculate things, how we perceive things, etc. So this is going to be a great conversation, and coming from the technology side of the house, peoples, let me just tell you, I'm a firm believer that our creative brains has the ability to create magic in different ways. Sometimes it's reflected in art in that traditional sense, but I also think of programming as art.
Ooh, that is definitely an art that is not for everyone, and everyone doesn't execute it brilliantly as individuals who are neurodiverse do. And that this is where I take my daughter's example. For example, she's brilliant when it comes to math. She loves numbers, and I know she loves coding. I, for the life of me, couldn't math when I was in school. However, I loved science. Science is my big thing, biology, anatomies, all those things that didn't really involve many numbers. I was so good at those. They spoke to the core being of my heart. So everyone, we all have our different abilities and different talents that make us special. That doesn't make us different. It's just we're brilliant and shine in different shades of different lights. So inclusion is real, y'all. Everyone wins. So this is what we're talking about today, and I cannot wait to dive into this topic with our amazing guest of the day. So how about, what do you think we should do, madame?
Shall we spin our intro, beautiful?
Let's go.
Because it's time let's dance and dance.
Welcome to the Influencers Connection Corner.
And and dance and dance. Hey,
Indeed.
hey, hey, hey. We start the party early. It doesn't matter if it's 10 o'clock in the morning or 10 p.m. at night.
Mama's got her sequins on. We're
Look
dancing
at
today.
you. And girl, why are you so glittery? Are you just giving us a little preview of what we're going to see in Vegas? Look at all those
I
glitz
think
and
it's because we're
glam.
going to Vegas. We're going to Vegas. And you guys can all join us. What does that mean? We're saying we're going to Checkpoint CPX Americas 2025 at the Venetian Resort, Las Vegas.
Oh
Woo-hoo-hoo.
my gosh, yeah, you had a little too much fun in that cup of yours this morning, didn't you? You got coffee in there? Are you sure?
Little Irish coffee this morning, my friend.
Oh
Why
my
you
God,
call me
guys.
out? Why you call me out? Come on, girl. In Vegas,
Cheers.
every hour is a good hour for Sia coffee.
That is true. It is fun in a cup, guys. But as Sia mentioned, my goodness, guys, we're super excited. We will be attending Checkpoint Software's CPX Americas 2025. In donde? Where? Las Vegas, Nevada, guys. And this is going to be taking place February 25th to the 26th. So join us. It is going to be a blast. Not only, because we're going to be there and we're going to bring the party, but not that type of party, but you know what I mean. But we will be bringing you the insights and all the updates and everything that is going on behind the scenes. One of my special, the one special reasons why I'm going to be there and I'm super excited is I will be interviewing all the LATAM executives from CPX Americas 2025 and Espanol. So I look forward to meeting you all, speaking to all my Latam friends, Latin America. Shout out to all the countries and everyone who's traveling. I've already started connecting with folks from there. So I'm super excited for this opportunity. Checkpoint, thank you so much.
Thank
Love it, love it.
you. Ooh, okay. Just because kids, we are live. So would you mind recording that en español? Por favor.
Absolutely not. People love when I speak Spanish. I'm just kidding. All right, let's go, guys. Bueno, a todos mis amigos y a todas las personas que están viendo, sintonizándose desde los países latinoamericanos, les hago una cordial invitación a la conferencia de CPX Américas 2025 de Checkpoint Software. Estaremos por allá en febrero 25 y 26 en Las Vegas, Nevada, en el Venetian Resort. Así que los invitamos cordialmente, estaremos por allá y esperemos que les guste. Nos vemos.
Woohoo!
You just love when I speak Spanish. You just say that.
I do.
Raquel.
Raquel.
Yes, I love it, guys. But yes, Checkpoint, thank you so much.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Gracias. Okay, so everyone, if you are curious, I will add the comments below. Please, we'd love to have you join us for those that can make it. Obviously, for those that are in technology, cybersecurity, this is for you.
Yes.
CPX Americas is really going to be a great event. So speaking of technology and cybersecurity, I think without further ado, shall we, my dear?
Oh my goodness, yes. Well, before we bring him on, let's just talk about the greatness of who Nathan is. Well, he is a living proof of really what being different is redefined. Being strength, it's not a setback. He was recently ranked number 4 among the top 50 creators on LinkedIn. Let's make sure by Favicon, if you guys don't know that. And this is specifically on neurodivergence. So he turned his journey from being misunderstood to a mission. And this is including advocating for inclusion, breaking barriers, and showing how neurodivergent minds don't just fit in cybersecurity. They are actually excelling in it. So let's give a warm welcome to our guest of the day, Nathan Chung. Welcome, my friend.
That was a little loud. Sorry, kids.
Yeah, we tend to be loud around here. But Nathan, thank you so much. You fit right into everything that is going on today. How are you, my friend?
Doing great, and it's a pleasure to be here today. Thank you for having me on your show.
Thank you for making the time to be here. I know Saturday mornings can tend to be a little bit busy for family, but this is also very important because this is close to your heart. It's a topic that you and I have discussed, and obviously your stellar career and your accolades show your dedication to it. So tell us a little bit about Nathan, and then we get right into the conversation.
Sure. So my name is Nathan Chung. My pronouns are he, him. I am a Chinese American originally from Hawaii, and now I'm living in Texas. I'm very open that I have autism, ADHD, complex PTSD, and this one is alexithymia. I also work in cybersecurity. That's me in a nutshell.
And thank you for that. And how important is to be able to set that difference, right? Just because individuals, when we meet one for the first time, they like to immediately label us. But as Latinas and Asian, and I've had this conversation with Sia plenty of times, we really don't lead with those things. We really don't talk about those things as a culture. Mental illnesses, mental health is not discussed in our families. So how has that, led in your life? How is that received?
Yeah, it's a long topic. So, in neurodiversity as a whole, the stereotype of being a neurodivergent person is usually, again, like, it's usually a white male virtually. So if you don't fall in that box, well, a lot of doctors even today think, hey, if you're not a cis white male, you cannot be neurodivergent with these conditions. I even wrote about this in Women's Security magazine. That's not that was published in Australia. Because the sad reality is, even today, despite this negative stigma around these conditions like autism, ADHD, even today, when a lot of women go to doctors and say, "I think I have like autism," they still get told by doctors, "Wait, you're a woman. You're not a man. You cannot. It's impossible for you to have these conditions." And that is upsetting to me when I hear these stories from my friends from all over the world. It's very upsetting. Add to it the other layers, the impact of culture, family, and where you
Yes.
live, the country you live in. Like me as an Asian, it's there are a lot of invisible walls.
Mm,
Think concepts such as saving face,
mm,
honor, avoiding shame. In short, it means don't make family look bad. So
mm,
it
mm.
puts people in the mindset where I better not say anything, I better not bring it up, and they don't get help. Driving it, of course, is thousands of years of Confucian thought and filial piety. Filial piety says make family look good, take care of your family, and also this concept called Asian guilt. You'd be surprised. I saw this really emphasized a lot in this Netflix movie called Beef, where these
Mhm,
two Asians,
mhm.
they get into this huge fight and road rage, and over the course of the series, as it progresses, it peels away the layer, and you see a lot of the stuff driving it is Asian guilt, the way they grew up in a very bad home. So, in result, for a lot of Asians such as myself, with all these how you say invisible walls, is we tend to suffer in silence. We often cannot get help.
Oof.
We cannot
Mm,
because we mentally think we cannot have these conditions because it'll make my
mm.
family look bad. So we don't get help, and a lot of people sadly are not no
Yeah.
longer with us.
Yeah.
Can
I
I
I know
jump
you
in
wanted to say
here?
I know you wanted to say something. Yes.
Because the more I'm learning about the spectrum itself, right? Because I think there is this like misconception, right, and of it being one thing, right? Because the spectrum has such different, again, for lack of a better, colors, right? Different colors along of where the brain and how the brain functions. Can I just tell you, you nailed something that just I just literally heard on and I'm gonna give Oswin Latimer a shout out with Foundations for Divergent Minds because I am producing Herding Cats, their new show. But they had explicitly talked about how autism is considered a white cis male diagnosis. And these ladies that are on are minority women who women from a diagnosis perspective is even following behind. The
Mhm.
women don't get acknowledged. And so for you to say that is just mind-blowing to me because I never thought of it before.
Yeah.
When you aren't in this world, you don't think about the fact that there is a challenge in the even the this sounds like a Cia rant. I swear to God, I'll be quick on here, Raquel. But it is interesting that even in the scientific, uh, you know, uh, community, they still can't seem to agree necessarily, and that just blows my freaking mind, literally. I mean, Nathan.
Yes.
So let me ask you, like, so with all the work that you're doing, um, are you gaining momentum? Do you think it's evolving, or do you still feel that there's an uphill climb to get even the scientific community on board?
Whew, that's a long question. I think me and a lot of people in the university movement, we have been gaining traction for the past few years up until a few weeks ago. But I digress. High level is it, like you said earlier in the show. The world is not made for us. One really good show that really opened my eyes is Crip Camp. Like, despite all the advocacy work I do, it reminds us about all the disability advocates that have come before. And sadly, when you look at how things are today, not much has changed. There are some small gains, but things like buildings not being accessible, not having elevators, not even having wheelchair ramps. Like, the world is still very inaccessible. And since y'all are in the tech space, consider this. I did a poll on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
I asked people, do people feel like their disability needs are met when they go to a tech or cybersecurity conference? Almost all, of course, most of the males said yes, no problem. The vast majority of those who said no were women. Now consider that. Women with disabilities are effectively, or more or less, shut out and don't even bother going to the conferences. Consider that.
Wow.
No, I think it really brings into perspective that there are so many gaps still and so many cracks, I would say, that we fall through. And it continues adding to that silence that is persistent and just perpetual. It's a silent battle. I have not been officially diagnosed, but I know at some point, I'm going to go through the entire thing because I know everybody has something of something. That's what I keep telling Sia. And go ahead, Sia.
I was just gonna say, but without going into detail, you have a progeny though that has been diagnosed.
I do actually. My eldest one is, and and it's one of those things that I'm learning as I go on this journey with her, and being able to equip myself with the right tools, with the information, in order to be able to give her more opportunities or equal opportunities, right, to normal human beings and whatever you define as normal being. But it is important, especially for her as a girl, right? What am I doing as a woman to be able to lead and contribute to making that change for her and for all the little girls that are coming up in future generations? So that's very important. As women, we must unite, ladies. We have to, because this is we're being left behind in this regard. Research is not supporting us, and then when we show up, when we go to the healthcare system, they're not also supporting us. They're misdiagnosing or just shushing us away. And I've seen and I've heard this of so many things on so many aspects. So this is very important. I just wanted to give a shout out to everyone who's showing up. So many individuals, especially on LinkedIn. This platform. This is where we are, and we live in here. But they are open about it. They start opening conversations about this because it's very important. It affects us one way or another. How often do you see, or do you have people that come and talk to you, Nathan, or they just open up?
You'd be surprised. I think it's not just me. I think when you see celebrities like I can't remember, like Dan Aykroyd and I can't remember the lady from Friends. I can't remember the blonde lady. When you see actors and celebrities coming out, even Bill Gates about a week ago, he said that today you would probably be considered autistic. I think that opens the door for people to say, hey, it's okay to be open about being neurodivergent. On the flip side, for the employers, when you go to work, the negative stigma of being different and having these conditions, it still impacts. Like, I've heard so many stories, like when people tell their employers, it's recently, like even about a day or so ago, a lady told me that when she came out to her employer that they are neurodivergent, that's when the bullying started. That's when they started getting slowly pushed out the door and being put on the pit and trying to fire her, all because she was open about being neurodivergent at her workplace. It's sad.
Yeah, and when you're vulnerable, right? And this, you would expect that humanity will have your back and be like, okay, you're sharing this information with us in order for us to have a supportive environment. But on the flip side, that doesn't happen. It's like they turn, their back on you, and then what do you do? So these are the stories that we need to start hearing in order to be able to change that workplace culture. And I know Felipe is in the comments. Felipe Cofinho, thank you so much for being here. Is a huge advocate huge advocate for being inclusive, for being, bringing that cultural sensitivities into work, the different sensitivities into work, into the workplace, to be embraceable, right? Embrace diversity, embrace everything that is conducive to the healthy individual in the workplace. So yes, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, you were going to say something.
Can I just ask one really fundamentally rudimentary question? Though I can tell that our people that are chatting right now, and I can see you all, and I'm trying to share the ones that are commenting. Can you tell me what is autism? Because I think people have this assumption that, oh, you're autistic, so therefore are you somehow mentally disabled? Does that make sense? So could you help me kind of just high level view of defining that so we're on the same plane?
Even that's controversial in the community.
Mm,
High level, the way it affects me is it makes it hard for me to get along with people. When going to conferences, it's hard for me to have the conversation. I come off as quirky, or people label me as, in short, like for me, being autistic means I'm different. As simple as that. I'm
okay.
different.
Hmm.
I think there's I guess we need to emphasize something a little bit here, right? Because there are some social cues that you may miss, right? Um, but that doesn't diminish your intelligence. And I think we need to clarify that because I guess coming from a technology background, and truthfully, it certain professions attract certain personality types. Let's just call it for what it is, guys. Okay. So, do you find a community in cybersecurity itself that is welcoming of neurodivergent minds and personality types, or is it still the same struggle, with the community abroad, like broader community?
Overall, it's still a struggle because these conditions are still, the negative stigma is still there, just being different. Because think of it as a factory. They expect you to just fall in line, be like everyone else, but it doesn't work that way. Because ideally, everyone is different, and our differences should be celebrated. That's why, like in the cyber field, one thing I am proud of, when I noticed a community didn't exist, I created
Hmm.
one. So I was part of a group called WESIS, Women in Cybersecurity, and their leadership asked me, "Oh, that they don't have a neurodiversity group," so I volunteered to create it. So I created the group's called the WESIS Neurodiversity Affiliate. So that group is specifically targeted to help to advocate for and support neurodivergent women in the tech and cyber fields. And to my knowledge, is the only group in the world that does that. And there, I brought in speakers who are, some of them are mothers who have
Hmm.
ADHD and who are just killing it in the tech fields. I think that stuff like that is important for women, because when they see, because normally when a woman goes to work in a tech or cyber field, they think, hey, it's gonna be so hard. I cannot have, like, say, a family. You cannot find happiness. But when they see women like that who are champions, who have these conditions and who are just killing it in their jobs, and they have families, and everything is good. Like, it
Hmm.
empowers women to think you can see that and say, hey, I can do that too.
Oh, my goodness. Well, first of all, let me thank you for championing for us, and especially as women, especially for the empowering factor, and encouraging women to go into tech, because to begin with, it's not an easy industry, but there are not that many women who want to go in tech, even though they want to. It's just they see all those obstacles, they see all that, no, maybe I can't, no, maybe I shouldn't, it's not for me, I'm not going to be welcome. But add on that, atop another layer of being neurodivergent. So thank you, thank you, thank you for championing for us, because we need more advocates like you, Nathan. We need allies, we need individuals, especially with how the world is right now. As women, we need to come together. As minority, we need to come together. Diversity needs to be celebrated. I have two biracial, bicultural children. Don't you think that this is, we want to create a world where embracing our differences is what I'm rooting for? And it's always been like that. I want to touch upon a point that really caught my attention at the beginning when we started talking about family. So, when did you know you were different? And when did you share that with your family? Or did your family know that?
So yeah, my journey is not a pretty one, because growing up, I always knew I was different. So I grew up in a time in the US where people thought things like vaccines caused autism. So like knowledge and medical understanding of autism and all the other conditions was not that great. So as a result, growing up, I knew I was different. I never got help. Only recently, maybe in the past 5 years, I finally got a diagnosis. Like, so I'm late diagnosed. However, like I know some friends where they have very supportive parents where they caught right away that their kids were different and they got them help and they are thriving now as adults. So it's important to recognize it early and to get people help.
So you'd say about 5 years ago, it's that you actually, took the step and say, okay, we're going to go through all of this. Now, how did your family, your immediate family, did up until that point, were you labeled? Were you misunderstood? What was it like?
I was always misunderstood. So my family overall, it's a mixed bag. They, again, because of the Chinese and Asian culture, they don't recognize all these conditions, much less mental health. So of course, like they know I'm very open to them that I have these conditions and I even advocate for them. But do they? So they're informed, but do they accept me? Not necessarily. But it's like too bad. This is who I am. And
Can we call it, us Asians, sweep it under the rug? We
yeah, pretty much.
will acknowledge it. We'll like work with you on it, but we'll never admit it. We'll never talk about it.
Yeah.
We'll never like coddle you, like as in, there. Maybe that's another topic for another day, kids,
Yeah.
because I can tell you, culturally,
Cool.
the Asian culture is all about, the survival of the fittest. So you freaking find a way to be your fittest you. And that's it. It's like I don't know about you. It's like, my dad
Yes.
threw me into the pool and said, swim, like
Oh my God.
that's just kind of how it is. I mean,
Actually,
that's how, I can't be the only one that got tossed into a pool.
Yeah.
Come on, people. That
Actually,
probably explains a lot, but what else?
Actually, on that note, I do need to make a big call out to Vanessa Yee. One thing that really opened my eyes is she came out with a documentary a few years ago called Laundromat. That because despite all these barriers that prevent Asians from addressing or even getting help with mental health, that documentary called Laundromat by Vanessa Yee, that really opened my eyes. Like she went into detail, like how, like when she went through grief or when she went through depression, they don't talk about it. Like say like yeah, they don't get help. They don't talk about it. Even within their own family, they don't talk about it. They don't get help. It's like
Yep.
I thought for a long time, I thought I was just the only one. I thought I was just the only messed up Asian with mental health issues. But watching Laundromat, that really opened my eyes that it's not just me. Asians all over the place have this issue. And I very much recommend Laundromat. And I very much thank people like Vanessa and others who are very open to say this stuff is happening and you're not alone.
Oh my God. Yes, that is key right there. Those two things you just said. It is happening. It is there. It exists. It's just we need to stop, thinking of it as a taboo. You are not alone. Why then not come together and let's have these conversations that will create nurturing sanctuaries in order for us to be able to thrive. And this is my call to people. This is my call out and say, hey, why are you all not doing the work? Do the work. We are here for one another. We thrive as communities. That's it, it's in our DNA as humanity. I was having this conversation yesterday with, pardon me, shout out Chef Lena. We were at a mixer yesterday because she got invited to compete in the Masters truffle here in Houston. So, hail her. And
sorry, I was drinking coffee. I should have.
It's all
applauded.
good.
Hold on. Okay, sorry, a little late. Sorry.
And so I was having this conversation with this gentleman there, and I said, at the core, the basis core of all of us, we thrive in communities. That is the fiber of our being. That is how we are. So why are we, separating or creating the separations by way of labels? No. We can use those labels and say we belong together as well because of our differences and finding that common ground. But you know what? I digress because what my comment was going to be is you're mentioning how it's been difficult for family acceptance. Oh, let me start telling you as a Latina, Latinos, we really, either you are sane or you are insane, or you either belong on the streets, and with normal people, or you belong in a psych ward. There's no happy medium. There is no gray area. It's either black or white. And I remember, I'll give an example of mine. When I was going, after I had my second daughter, I was experiencing postpartum depression. I didn't know what was wrong with me because no one told me about it. No one pulled me to the side and talked to me about it. My parents didn't have the tools or the awareness to even start. So when I started sharing feelings, was very vulnerable of what I was feeling. They're like, "Well, have you ever thought about possibly having this?" And I'm like, "Whoa, what is that? I'm not crazy." Immediately, myself, I was like, "But I'm not crazy. I'm not, I don't know what's going on with me, and maybe I'm just tired." So I opened up to my mom and I said, "Mom, I'm experiencing this, I'm experiencing that." And she's like, you don't need pills. You're fine. You're fine. Nothing's wrong with you." And so pushed
Yeah.
it to the side or brushed it under the rug. So it is very
Mhm.
important though. If I had not had the initiative to literally say, I have to save myself, I have to do this for myself, I would still be stuck in the, I don't know what was wrong with me. Maybe I was crazy. Maybe I'm going crazy, without having that nurturing community to tell me, no, you are not crazy. You are just going through this, and this is what you can do in order to help yourself. And so it's very important. You are not alone, and nothing is wrong with you. Okay, nothing is wrong with you. It's just that information that needs to be learned and shared. And what is one way that you share this information with the community, Nathan? I know podcast, books, and so many different things, but mhm.
And also speaking out and engaging community members. And back into what you said earlier, I think the piece, because again, when people, even the neurodiversity movement as a whole, when they talk about neurodiversity, the assumption is always white men. That's the main focus. But a lot of people don't understand like the cultural aspects, the race factor in particular. Like example, which you was kind of sort of like what you just talked about. Like one lady of color told me is growing up, her mom would tell me, "Girl, there ain't nothing wrong with you. Just pick up your Bible, go to church, and God will heal you." Like for people,
Oh,
so for people growing up, the message is that your mom told you this. This is how it's going to be, and you're not going to get help. Even for white people, like for example, I have a friend who's originally from Italy. She told me like in Italian culture too, they don't talk about this stuff. They don't
Mm-hmm.
even bring it up. So it's so prevalent throughout the world, and it's sad. Like people don't get help, and culturally, it's the culture itself and the family and the parents. It's sad, but they are essentially oppressing a person from getting help. That's really sad.
It,
yes.
it is, and this is, I think, something, because this show, yes, we are based in the United States, right? We have to acknowledge our affluence, right? At least we have accessibility to help that we need, and I think the understanding that you know each continent, if you, I'm just gonna say continent, has its own views about health, mental health in general, right? And disabilities in general. So one point that I'm just gonna keep shouting out Oswin here because I don't know where the heck she is. They are. Shoot, sorry, Oswin. They are. Which is, they said, this misrepresentation that it is a white male thing, that the first major neurodivergent conference was out in Africa. It was a global conference, and I had no idea of that. So Nathan, you're nodding your head and like saying, yeah. Can you tell me a little bit more about if you were familiar with that? You're younger than these other individuals, so um, can you
Well,
talk more about that? Do you
to be honest,
understand the
I
reference?
haven't not heard about the conference, but I do know that there are neurodiversity advocates all over the world, and they're slowly making inroads, like even in places that are for worse more I say hostile if for being different, like India, the Middle East, and Africa. So I'm very happy to see people from all the world slowly making inroads.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. And because again, I go back to that point of community. If we don't rally for one another, we really are not going to make any monumental progress. And for me, advocacy is in my being, right? It runs in my blood, and advocating for different things, different, just championing for one another, right? But it is not easy. Advocacy is not an easy road, and it requires courage and conviction. It requires facing, giants and the enemy, you should say. But I wouldn't say it is that bad or evil. But what continues inspiring you, Nathan, to continue being one of our champions, championing and going forward with this movement, just because it is important. We have to. We have to have this
Absolutely.
conversation.
So high level, I never got any help growing up.
Mm,
I
Mm.
think for a long time that depressed me, and I just felt a lot of shame and felt like poor me. I think one day I just looked around and realized that despite everything, like I'm okay. I, I I made a lot of progress, but there are lots and lots and lots of people out there who do need help. In fact, despite all the conference talks I've done, like say the UN, CES, etc., the most impactful talks I've done is when the audience is like a group of autistic students. I did
mhm.
that a few years ago. That is the most impactful talks I've given because I told them straight, like look at me, I have autism, I'm okay, I succeeded. My big message to those students who have autism is they will succeed. I
Mm.
have faith in you. I believe in you. Like growing up, I wish someone told me that. I never got that from anybody.
Yeah, yeah, no. In one of the reframings that I do with my daughter, just to give you an example, since we're talking about kids in school, is it's she's gifted. She is gifted. The way she looks at life in a certain concept, or the way she, processes things, I don't do that sometimes, or I don't see it. But however she executes, however she gets to the end goal, and I'm in awe. So I say it is a gift. It is not a hindrance. It is not, it's nothing that will hold you back except yourself. You are the only person that will hold you back, and your thoughts. But if you reframe those, and you are a gifted student, she is, luckily, she's in the Vanguard program here in Houston. But as we start putting in those, seeds of positivity in them now, so that later on in life and as adults, they don't struggle to fit in. And I'm not talking about fitting in just to be popular, but with what a normal human being's life is like, which nowadays is chaos, right? But that's a topic for another day. But now we talk about the culture, right? We talk about the cultural aspect, we talk about the personal aspect, uh, and then now we move. And one of the wonderful things that I love about you is how you empower women, and how you really focus on us. That was definitely one of those things that really vibed, with me. And then I was like, oh my god, I must find out more about you. You support women a lot. You support us and understand our struggles, as with being mothers and trying to balance it all. So please tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. So I volunteered at events for organizations like WISIS, so Women in Cybersecurity. They are the largest women cyber nonprofit in the world. But real quick, going back to what you said about motherhood, when my podcast called Neuroset, I had a great, amazing guest. Her name is Tiffany Jameson. Believe she's based out of California. She's one of the huge powerhouses in the neurodiversity movement. One of the biggest things she said is for a lot of parents, one of the first things they realized that they were neurodivergent is their kids. Their kids are special, they're different. So that was one of the first signs that they might be neurodivergent too, because a lot of these conditions like this autism is in the gene, is passed on to their kids. And one of the most powerful things she said is, as a parent, when your child is different, they do go through a period kind of like mourning that their kid is not going to be like everyone else, and they do need to adjust to a new reality. And some parents will struggle with that, and that just blew my mind because I didn't think about that.
Hmm. Hmm. Mourning. I mean, mourning is it's a heavy word. And then you're talking about telling a child, well, you have to strip yourself of that old self to embody a new self. And so that's a difficult topic to really chew,
I
right?
mean,
Yeah.
as a parent for you, I imagine all you want is your child to live a happy, healthy life, right? And
Mhm.
that if you can help it as much as possible, that they live a life that, and I hate to say it, a bit of conformity, right? As in, they're not going to be standing out for the wrong reasons, if you want to call it
Mm,
wrong. Okay, I'm not
mm.
saying it's wrong, but what I'm trying to say is you want good attention brought on them, not bad attention brought on as a negative connotation. Not, I'm digging a hole here. But that being said, is this? I think it's fair to say and allow the parents, you're allowed to have a grieving process if you are learning to say, okay, my child is neurodivergent. It's not a death knell thing. It's
It's
just simply
not.
saying you're just shedding maybe a different perspective and welcoming, embracing a new one. And I think there's shame in parents that have to come to terms with the fact that maybe they did feel grief, anger, whatever it might be. And so thank you for bringing that up, Nathan, because as much as we want to advocate for the children, or for those that are diagnosed, we have to advocate for the parents to allow them to be human, to adjust to their new normal. So thank you. I
Exactly.
never thought of it that way. And Raquel, I mean,
Trust
is there
me.
a and again, I'm sorry, Nathan, I'm sorry, my friends in the neurodivergent community, is there a good community for the parents,
Mm.
like to talk to each other and say, like, I'm having a hard time with this, and admitting those types of vulnerabilities?
I can't think of any right now, but I do believe there are, because you're right. Like parents struggle, and
Oh yeah.
so back to women. I think the other piece to it is what I talked about earlier. It's similar, like tech and cyber and women. Their the percentage of women in the tech and cyber field is roughly 25 to 30%. It's similar to the neurodivergent field. The percentage of women actually diagnosed is also very low. It's like 20-30%.
Hmm.
But consider that according to a UK study, they estimate that up to 50% of the tech workforce is neurodivergent, but yet many of us hide. Why? Because of the negative stigma. So
Mm.
when you go to the office and say, "Hey, everyone, I'm different," it's like wearing a sign that says like, "I'm different, hurt me." It's like it's sad, but that's the reality. It's this the teasing, the bullying,
Mm.
or just being treated differently. Like one lady shared like how it all started. It's just so she came out at work back. She has like autism. It started slowly, being told that she's too loud or not, she's not falling in line, and she's not doing her job correctly. And slowly but surely, they terminated her. And it's sad, but this is the reality. It's people as a whole, they just don't like being different. They don't like people who are different. That's why in somebody talks, I like to use the analogy of the X-Men. Like I grew up watching the X-Men TV series and the comics. Like when you look at people like that, they're extraordinary, they're different, they're saving the world, saving life, but people throughout the comics hate them, absolutely hate them, all because they're different. And that stigma exists worldwide, pretty much worldwide, just because you're different.
Hmm. Mm. Hmm.
Well, that's funny you should mention, and I apologize, Raquel, I know you're about to say something, but here's the other thing too that just popped up in my head is being different. I think one of the reasons why I think women specifically are not as acknowledged with the diagnoses is because, and I'm going to call it out, peoples, do women have the ability to mask their autism better than a male? And I'm wondering, is that societal or is that cultural? Is that because our brain chemistry, because we do have progesterone and estrogen that maybe can help us a little bit? Nathan, have you heard anything of that nature, of women masking their autism better?
That I don't have any. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but high level, masking is exhausting. High level, think of it as like trying to run using an IT term. Think of it as trying to run a server in virtual in a virtual as a virtual machine on a laptop with say 4 gigabytes of RAM. It's gonna crash a lot faster.
Yeah. Oh, heck
that's
yeah.
that's a good example of masking, but that's why a high-low masking, pretending to be someone else and trying to fit in is exhausting, and eventually you crash out.
Oof.
Some women I talk to who are like amazing friends and powerhouses in the university movement, they take off the mask, say, "Hey, I'm gonna be myself. I'm gonna kick ass at my job," and you know what? They thrive. They very much thrive. That's why like, at the end of the day, ideally, we should be safe to be psychologically safe to unmask and be ourselves.
Oh my God. That right there just makes me so proud, because we go through that silent battle for so long because we wear those masks, and that emotional labor that comes associated with the masking is exhausting. It depletes, it drains, it just sucks the life out of us. And so what's left are the remnants of that person that is, right? That was, because society just doesn't nurture us. It doesn't put, it just withdraws. It doesn't deposit back to us because we don't have these safety sanctuaries at all. So what people end up saying, oh, well, she's just crazy or she's bipolar. It's automatic labels, 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 labels. When are we going to stop and actually start being responsible for saying, how am I contributing to the situation? What am I doing, and not being able to create a nurturing environment for this individual to thrive? We as humanity have that responsibility, guys. And that's why everywhere I go, I try to make sure that people feel welcomed, because we are all different, but we have to celebrate those differences, right?
Absolutely. Oh yeah, and back to your other question. So give me one example. When a friend, uh, she was a guest at one event, she explained how before when she goes to work, she tried to fit in, dress like the stereotype of a normal the everyday woman at work that try to wear a dress or business suit, just look normal. It's similar to masking. She got exhausted like trying to fit in like that. Then one day she explained how she said like never mind that, and she started coming to work like wearing jeans and combat boots and looking more like herself, so she's comfortable and she can work. And she felt to me how doing that was so liberating for her, and she was able to work more efficiently because again she's free to be herself. Like that was extremely powerful to myself and a lot of the women in the crowd.
Mm, Yes. I mean, like, again, for me, that is very liberating. I think you just said a key word there, because if we're trapped in being the mask of someone else, then why we're continuing to dishonor who at the core being we are. And I know, spiritually speaking, that's not what we came to this world to do. We are here in order to be able to honor who we are, true to ourselves. And if you're telling me that I cannot be my authentic self because it doesn't fit somebody else's mold, well, I got news for you. I'm not fitting in that mold. So you're going to get a taste of Raquel. All my life I've been hearing, you're too loud, you're too vivacious, you're too this, you're too that. Well, you know what? I'm entertaining and I make people smile. So how about that? That's what I usually say.
How about making yourself smile, man? Who cares what people think? You know what? Because you can't control what people think, right? You can control how you respond to things. And by the way, everyone, I am like trying so feverishly hard to keep track of everyone's amazing comments. For those that wrote big, really thoughtful, and Nathan, you may want to check it out later and review it. I can't share it unless you want me to cover Nathan's handsome face. So I'm not sharing your amazing comments, but I do want to make and acknowledge that there's some really great input being shared here. And we appreciate you and thank you very much, everyone. I
Yes.
just can't,
Yeah.
unless you want me to cover your face, Nathan, but I don't think I
No.
want to do that. You're too handsome. I'm sorry. I'm going to call it out.
No, and the beautiful thing of the community, and thank you everyone who is tuned in and actually chiming into the conversation, because this is this belongs to all of us. These conversations are supposed to be nurtured, and I encourage you all to reach out to Nathan, to reach out to a community that embraces neurodiversity, that embraces communities that are different, because at the end of the day, it's about the survival, and it's about the thriving. How do we start coming together as a community to create spaces for parents to have these conversations so they don't feel the shame and the guilt and, oh, did I do something wrong? Because that's what happened to me. As a mom, I was shamed that I did something wrong in the womb for my child, that it caused my child to come out that way. And when I tell you first of all, the audacity, I was smart enough to say, no, that's not how it works. But just the shame and the guilt, that knowing that these other individuals are still walking out there around the world thinking that it was my fault that my daughter has ADHD.
Honey, they think that now. There's people who think that now. And that is, again, advocacy, education, right? Empathy is going to help further along that cause and along that path. Nathan, let me ask you in this, in your advocacy work, are you getting pushback? Are you getting pushback from folks that are like, "Meh, I think it's made up"? Because there are some people out there that think it's a, uh, again, going back to what Travis was saying, like, "Oh, suck it up, mask it. You can
Yeah.
overcome it." So, what kind of resistance are you seeing, if any, these days?
See, high level. I do remember some people did tell me things like I look normal. I can't have autism, or just yeah, like you said, suck it up, or another one I told sometimes, get with the program,
Oh my
or
God.
even worse of all, sh- like shut up, just do what you're told. I get told that sometimes. But back up to what you said earlier, I think despite all these challenges, I think one of the first and one of the most important steps for a lot of people is acceptance. Like growing up, I didn't want to be different. I wanted to fit in. There's that societal expectation, like you got to fit in order to be accepted. But one of for my journey personally to share, that was my very first step. Because if you cannot accept yourself for who you are and having these being neurodivergent, it's harder to get people to accept you. But that's the first step, in my opinion. Accept yourself.
I love that because so many of us do not get to hear the hey, in spite of it all, I'm proud of you. I love you. It doesn't matter. I love you. And, we don't get to hear those words too often. So being able to look in that mirror and doing that mirror exercise, it may be very, very odd at the beginning, but being able to tell yourself, hey, I love you and I'm proud of you, it is, it brings down so many walls and you get to walk out into that world empowered. I know it's so difficult for so many because it is scary, but vulnerability is a power. So and I love that you specifically say that. And one of the things that the other thoughts that I had was it is a lonely road, but we have the ability to say, I don't want to walk this road alone. I don't want to, God forbid, it be my demise. We are here for one another. We are not alone. And I keep saying this, you are not alone. Reach out to someone. We are here. We're advocates. This is why we get up and do what we do every single day. This is why, Nathan, you get up and you're like, okay, let's go empower. Let's go create a community. Let's go talk on this podcast. You have your own podcast too. And I hear you're starting a second one soon. So
Yep.
congratulations on
Thanks.
that. But this is what drives us.
Absolutely.
Anything else you would like to add to that,
And
Nathan?
and real quick, I see a lot of comments about family. They have difficulty with family, and after acceptance, I think another thing why I learned is very powerful is if there's certain family members or even friends or even parents, if they don't accept you, if they don't like what you're doing, well, you can just create a boundary, and if they're going to be full of hate and say, hey, if they don't like what you do, create a boundary and say, if you don't accept me, you don't have to be around me anymore. I can be myself. I'm sorry if you don't.
Well, I think that
Yeah.
boundary is so critical, right? Because that helps you keep your self-love contained and it doesn't go out. That energy, that sucking of the energy goes away, from you. You want to keep that to yourself as much as you possibly can and give your energy for those that will accept you. We talk about
Yes.
tribes all day long. We talk about
Yes.
authentic connections all day long. And I am so thrilled that you guys met in real life and that you guys made a connection because we don't talk about neurodiversity in business enough. And this is why in
Mhm.
LinkedIn particularly, yeah, we're streaming on YouTube and all that good stuff, but ultimately this message is really for LinkedIn audience, which is we're working with people that are diverse, whether it's culturally, mentally, physically, whatever, right? Uh, we have to acknowledge that, look, we're not saying make accommodations, and change everything and walk in the room with your left foot all the time just to please all our OCD friends. We're not saying any of that. It's just simply acknowledgement. That's it.
Yes.
Acknowledge it. We don't need you to be holding our hands and heaven knows we don't need pity, right? Like
No.
none of that. Like we like
No.
advocacy. We don't need pity, right?
Oh,
So that's the other thing that I think I love that you're here, Nathan, and pushing this out because some people if you're not exposed, just don't know how to behave, and that's okay. Ask the question. Okay, Nathan, let me ask you. Do you like it when people ask you questions to learn more?
Absolutely. Because
Love
for
it.
me, I love to help people. In fact, you talk about the workplace. I just released some information on LinkedIn about a day or so ago about like what do you do when you come out as neurodivergent in the workplace and they start bullying you and want to fire you. So I posted some resources, some for some people to for information for people to consider, like how to protect yourself and how to take action when you're wrongly fired from your job. Because sadly, people don't talk about it much, but it happens. Being different, being bullied, being fired for being different, it happens.
You know,
Mhm.
we've gone, I know, and I'm looking at time and I'm respecting everyone's time, but there are so many wonderful comments in the conversations going on that I may consider doing a second part of
We
this and
have
having
to.
a
I think
panel,
so.
just because it's so huge. Mental health and mental wellness, these are topics that they're not just trending, y'all. I mean, it's reality. This is what we live every single day, and people, need to start thinking we cannot have shame. This is not taboo. Let's encourage and nurture these conversations. And I keep saying that, but managing mental health in a high stress career can be tough. That is one thing. And so you have to be very intentional on how to have those boundaries and protect yourself. So for self care, for example, I've gone into a lot of meditation and exploring into many of these. So, what are some of the self care things that you do for yourself to protect you?
So meditation's a good one. And also, like yesterday, I finally got out of my funk, started hitting the gym again. And I'm not sure. I know we were near almost out of time, but I do need to feel the need to bring up that for neurodiversity, one underlying issue which affects many people is complex PTSD, the trauma. And again, being Asian, a lot of people don't talk about it. That's why I was so amazed when I finally found some books from Asian women who actually talked about it in the books. So two
Mm-hmm.
books I would like to recommend are What My Bones Know by Stephanie Fu and
Ooh.
Where I Belong by Su Jin Lee and Linda Yoon, where they go into depth about complex PTSD, trauma, growing up in a in a broken home and going through abuse, and how to heal. I think that can help many people who are struggling with mental
Oh my
health issues.
goodness. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's. I'm gonna put those books. I'm gonna list them or Cherry list them. Look at Tia be proactive.
Trying,
Yes,
trying.
I I tried. Yes. So what my bones know by Stephanie Fu. Yes, I know you had mentioned that in our conversation as well. Still diving to waiting to get dive into that, and because we need as much resource as we can in order for us to not only understand ourselves as individuals and what else can we do in order to be able to thrive in this world, but not and have resources within the community. So thank you so much for sharing that, Nathan. I think that's very important. But I talked about the meditation, and I know you said that. What would be a parting message or golden nugget that you can tell someone who is possibly a little scared of saying, hey, I acknowledge that I may be a little different, but I'm scared, I don't know how to talk to someone about it? What is a word or a phrase that you give them to feel empowered to do so?
Ooh, that's a long one. So high level, like for my journey, once I started suspecting that I'm neurodivergent, I started researching, just start reading books, start going on the internet and watching. Like, there's tons of videos on YouTube from people who gone through similar stuff. And let's see, high level, go to local events. There's, for example, various nonprofits, AANE, and various neurodiversity, autism-based nonprofits in pretty much every state. And I think my last parting message to everyone is something I heard from the show called Miss Marvel on Disney, where someone said, "How can I be normal?" And her response is, "There is no normal. There's just us and what we do." Like that is
Ooh,
very powerful. Like because there is
yes.
no normal. Every single person on this planet is different.
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh. You just like literally, okay, I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry. I am not gonna cry.
Oh my God. Is there an
That
episode you don't cry? I mean, honestly, I think you, audience, literally, can we go back in time? I don't think there's an episode where you don't cry, but go ahead. Go ahead.
because it's heartfelt. Nathan, you're speaking to me. You're speaking to, everything that I've that the young girl, that adolescent that went through life, doing life, thinking something was wrong with her because she was different, that she was considered the black sheep of the family because she dared to do things in a different manner, and thinking that it was disobedience, when in reality it was just her living her full out human life and human experience. That, yeah, some human experiences are not for everyone, y'all, let me tell you that right now. But thank you for just giving us that validation that yes, you are not alone and there's really nothing wrong with you, and go out there and live a fruitful life that honors you. Those are so empowering. If somebody had pulled me at 15 years old and told me that, what you just said, oh, bro, I would have done it. I would have lived for me, as opposed to for what society dictated and what the norm said, what the mold said that I needed to mold into. So, whoo, this is a lot. Yeah, we're definitely going to have a second one. I am not kidding you. Nathan, you are phenomenal. Thank you again for the work that you are doing for us, for humanity, and for the legacy that you're leaving. And I am so proud of you. You should be so proud of you,
Thank
and
you.
and all the difference that you're making in the world. And I know that many of the professionals who are on this call as well, and on this live stream, and who know you touched so many lives. So we will have you back again. And but other than that, guys, thank you. And then we do want to highlight another amazing brand, another amazing individual who's doing so many wonderful things in the caregiving space, and to comfort us. So go ahead, Madame.
Excellent. And so thanks, everyone. And here we go.
Falling asleep with your head in the wrong position is a pain in the neck. You deserve Tausi Comfort for head, neck, and back support. Go to tausibrands.com and get your comfort on.
Thank you for joining. If you enjoyed today's show, please subscribe and follow us for the next episode.